Good morning to our viewers here in Nigeria, across the continent, and those who are joining us online. It's a Thursday morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Omoregie Ogbeide-Ihama.
And I'm Joe Hansen, reporting for duty. Thanking you for joining us. It promises to be another exciting edition on Breakfast Central, especially this morning. We do have our cup of tea, and we're hoping that you're having yours as well as we delve into the big stories that are indeed having a strong impact, especially on Nigerians. By the way, how much is bread this morning?
Definitely almost at the same rate with the dollar. Yeah, I think it's about 1,500, 1,700, depends on where you're buying it. It's no longer the... I think there's a time that bread used to be the go-to Sunday morning or morning food, for families. But I don't think that's still happening anymore. Even a pack of, a carton rather of noodles is no longer, it used to be about 1,005 or 1,700 before, but it's something around 4,000 naira now. So I'm not even sure. I think the question really is what is the go-to food for the average Nigerian family now that they can afford?
Okay, well, I think I can tell you that there's bread in between, but sometimes it's sliced, sometimes it's agigi. Because you have to. Then if you have stove, you can heat up the agigi to make it English,
feel fresh.
So it can be crispy in between. But it's a tough one. I don't know if Dashin is there. Dashin, I don't know what constitutes a good breakfast for you, Dashin.
I think you were right when you actually talked about agege bread. I think that's the only type of bread that, in time Nigerians will be able to afford because it's the cheapest right now. Because even beans that used to be a lot cheaper back then, it's quite expensive. Everybody's complaining. It's not easy. I think even for me, I've actually reduced my eating habits. I now eat once a day. Sometimes I don't even eat. Gari is expensive as well. You know that, right, Joe?
Yeah.
A pint of Gari used to go for about 700, 600, then it climbed up to about 1,200. Now you're talking about almost close to 1,716, 2,000.
This is I haven't bought Gari in a while, but this is really, really shocking. And that's why I asked the question. So what meals do Nigerian families now, have together? Of course, Sundays, people will definitely have rice, but I know that we used to have routines when we were growing up. There used to be certain meals that used to happen with the whole family. Everybody shares maybe 2 or 3 loaves of bread, depending on how many you are in the home. But I don't think that the average Nigerian family can afford that anymore. And that's it. I don't know how anyone's coping, really.
Definitely, okay. And I actually want to say, if you've not had Gari in a while, then you're actually living large. You're still a big boy.
No, I haven't had to buy Gari in a while. It's not like I haven't had it. But anyway, we will discuss, food and the little details concerning feeding in the average Nigerian family over time. Let's quickly share with our viewers this morning what our top stories are on Breakfast Central. This morning, the Senate summons CBN governor over the state of the economy.
Tough one, tough times. Edo gubernatorial, we'll talk about Obaseki as he moves to reconcile with Wike. What is the relationship ahead of the elections, you might wonder?
And Rivers political crisis, court orders arrest of Edison here, the CSO, chief of staff rather, to the governor.
AFCC launches tool to monitor transactions in MDAs, very, very critical. And plus, we'll bring to you the front pages of the newspaper. Stay with us on Breakfast Central.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines on News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. Now the news begins in West Africa, where the Nigerian Senate on Wednesday summoned Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, over the free fall of the naira and hyperinflation. The governor and his team were asked to appear on Tuesday next week to explain the state of the economy and the free flow of the naira at the forex market. The committee expressed concern over the endless weakening of the naira that saw it rose to 1,520 naira to a US dollar as at Wednesday. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, has revealed that the anti-graft agency uncovered how a religious sect in Nigeria is laundering money for terrorists. He noted that religious organizations, institutions, sects and bodies have been found culpable of money laundering. A Rivers State High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has granted an ex parte motion filed by Edison Ehie, Chief of Staff to Governor Sim Fubara, against the Nigerian police. Ehie had asked the court to restrain the police and other security agencies from arresting, detaining or harassing him over his alleged involvement in the explosion at the Rivers State House of Assembly. Earlier, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, issued a warrant for the arrest of Edison Ehie along with 5 other persons based in Port Harcourt for their alleged participation in the attack. Now the news continues in West Africa, where the mission deployed by the European Union to Senegal to observe the presidential election on 25th February is asking to meet with candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who is currently in prison and considers it very important that he be able to campaign. The mission said their aim is to see all the candidates who have been validated by the Constitutional Council, whatever their situation. In the east of the continent, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, says at least 8 million people have been displaced from their homes by the war in Sudan since April 2023. Grandi says most are still in Sudan, but more than 1.5 million have gone to neighboring countries, adding that the refugee response is poorly funded. Now in North Africa, Libyan authorities have started sending 350 irregular migrants to their home country, Egypt. Libya has become a key departure point on North Africa's Mediterranean coast for migrants, mainly from other parts of Africa, risking dangerous sea voyages in hopes of reaching Europe. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. It's back to you, Saoge and Joe.
Thank you very much. Interesting developments there in Rivers State. I'm guessing we're going to x-ray a little bit of that sometime during the show today, or at least have a bit of that conversation this morning.
Yes,
but very interesting, and I'm hoping that whatever investigations that they are doing, into the atrocities that were committed to at the Rivers State House of Assembly, they go beyond just who burnt the house. I hope that it also goes into who demolished the house, if there was a proper, request, that necessitated the demolition of the Rivers State House of Assembly. But every single person who has disrespected the law and disrespected the people of Rivers State must answer those questions. It shouldn't be used to play politics. So good luck to all of them at this time.
I think from my end, I'm also worried about the fact that was there any CCTV that showed the former spokesperson for the House walking into the building and carrying out the atrocities? Because there's also a case within that where Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja says that the issue of the warrant of arrest of the former speaker, now the chief, now close to the governor, is indeed very, very rife, that he should actually be apprehended or arrested right before we had another court ruling that says he shouldn't be touched. So, guys, we have 2 different court rulings here. One says arrest, one says immediately, another one comes out to say don't arrest. Which one do we hold on to? And there's also a seemingly attached case that there were killings of police officers, and he's also being fingered and 5 others to have carried out that killing. So it's a strong one.
Yeah. So I'm going to hope, that all of this is coming because there has been a police investigation into the alleged arson, right? If there has been a police investigation, maybe one person has been arrested that confessed one thing or the other. I have no idea. But another thing that is scary for me is the part where it looks like from the FCT, there's court rulings being given from the FCT, and then there's counter court rulings being given from Rivers State. And that's what it seems like, that it's still a political tussle. And the worrisome part is the fact that we may have gone back to that era. If you remember, in the early months or years of the Buhari administration, there were court rulings for hire or for rent. If you remember back then, there was get an injunction, you can get a different one 2 hours later from a different court in a different state entirely that has no business whatsoever. So I think we may have gotten back there where judges give out whatever court rulings that they have been allegedly asked to give out. And another one can be asked to give out a counter one, and another one give her the counter one just like that. We may be back there. That's my worry, really.
I really hope that's actually not the case because, if it is, then Nigeria, there's actually, I seriously can't say where Nigeria is really heading to at this moment. And you talked about the Port Harcourt issue, where investigations are actually still on, and we're hoping that in time we get to know what really happened, what led to the explosion, what led to, the demolition, because it's beginning to look like there's some sort of foul play. We don't know from which end, but definitely, investigations will come out, and then the results will actually show what really, really happened in Port Harcourt.
All right.
Anyway, thank you so much, Dashin, for joining us. We'll see you again at 9 a.m.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, then. So this morning on Which Way Nigeria, let's talk to you Nigerians. Yes, you Nigerians. Not every time the government this, the government that. But, after all, the 16th president of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln, defined democracy as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So today's monologue is calling on the Nigerian warriors. I don't mean the superheroes with mutating powers, but those possessing spiritual powers. Those gathered in numbers right before a dead transformer, praying for it to generate electricity. Those who kept praying heavily before a building that was burning, asking for the appearance of a miraculous extinguisher that never came. Those who have turned appointed spokespersons of God, predicting last year that the country will blossom, the dollar will bow, as it were, to the naira, and Nigerians will indeed smile again. But wait, let me quickly check. All right, the dollar is headed for 1,500 naira as of today. So imagine, the naira is not even a king in its own country. It's shouting, yes, master, to the dollar. Kind of like reminds me of the slave trade era. Where were the prayer warriors when GSK said, bye-bye, making asthmatic patients live in fear, knowing that they are seconds away from surviving an attack and having money to purchase the now expensive Ventolin drugs? Where were the prayer warriors when P&G said, time is up? Where were the prayer warriors for over 63 years when a country with over 200 million people does not have one single working refinery? I know where they were. They're still praying for a miracle. Where were the prayer warriors again when fuel prices went up from 165 to 610 naira? When a bag of rice is currently being sold for 64,000 naira, formerly 13,000, then it climbed to 23, and now it's 64,000. Where are the prayer warriors when the price of egg, that egg that we love to eat so much, was being sold before for 50 naira, then 100 naira, and now it's currently 200 naira in some places, while others are still maintaining that between 150 and 170. Where were the prayer warriors when a leader or a civil servant squanders billions of naira or is found wanting? The prayer warriors will say, don't harm him, let us pray for him. Where were they when dilapidated roads in the east, south, and other parts of the country are so bad for more than 8 years and still counting, causing fear, pains, and affecting cars? They would say, don't worry, we'll pray for the road to transform miraculously into a tarred road. Well done, transformer. Now, what am I saying here? Prayer is good, don't get me wrong. The holy books tell you to actually pray. But you see, the same book says that faith without works, in quotes, is dead. And as we wind down looking at this, let me shock you. Based on analysis from the data sourced from PEW Research Center in 2018 and published just last year in August in Nigeria, the most religious country in the world, guess who? In Africa, Nigeria. While China is part of the world's least religious nation. Now take a look at this stats. In China, only 3% of the population regard religion as very important, only 3%. And just 1% pray daily and attend the religious service maybe once a week. Here in Nigeria, we pray daily, and nearly 89% attend a weekly religious service. Yes, that's the percentage, 89% pray daily and so on. And I'm sure you too watching this program, You were praying this morning, right? Yes, you did. So why is the most religious country like Nigeria borrowing from the least religious country like China? Why does China have more factories, produces for exportation to the world, while we depend on oil alone and yet have more prayer houses and factories? Do you know that the TV you are using to watch News Central this morning is actually made from China? Aha, yes. So why is Nigeria owing the least religious nation, at least one of them, China, $4.73 billion as of June 30, 2023? Why? I'll leave you with this food for thought. Nigerians, for you to realize this, that a child who has not read for his examination should not expect to pass with distinctions. Nigerians should not expect a fair economy in the coming years, even starting from this dispensation, by simply just praying. No work, just pray. Pray it to work. So think about it one more time. Nigerians, which way? Which way, Nigeria?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks to Joe for that. Which way, Nigeria? Absolutely. Nigerians must do more than pray if they hope to see a better nation. They must demand better from government. They must fight. They must play their part in actualizing the better Nigeria that they seek. Prayers, of course, maybe would only do about 20%, I don't know, of the process. In other conversations this morning, Nigeria's anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, has launched a tool expected to monitor financial transactions within government ministries, departments, and agencies in a move to prevent corruption. Now, this was during an anti-corruption summit in the nation's capital, Abuja, where the chairman of the commission urged citizens to come up with innovative ways to tackling the menace of corruption in the country. Marvelous Obomano has more in this report.
At this gathering of traditional rulers, leaders of faith-based organizations, policymakers, custodians of higher institutions of learning, and many others, including representatives of the nation's anti-graft agencies, the issue of corruption among youths and government agencies was discussed.
The youth, religion, and the fight against corruption.
It's so saddening that I stand before this eminent audience today, that our experience in fighting corruption that involve religious leaders and even traditional rulers is nothing to write home about.
By 2035, by 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous nation on earth, with a population of 440 million. We are going to surpass the United States. But what are we going to do with this anticipated demographic bulge? We can turn it into demographic dividends, or it will be the demographic disaster that will consume all of us.
15 years ago, we were talking about these corruption cases in our country, Nigeria. How much have things changed in fight against corruption, which we know is the worst evil that can befall any country.
With the current administration making daring moves to fight against corruption, notable investigations of public officers have commenced. The Anti-Graft Agency, in a bid to save taxpayers' funds, says it has come up with an innovative way to fight graft. The agency launched a new tool expected to inform its officials in the case of any possible move relating to financial mismanagement.
This initiative recognizes the potential of religion as a tool for ethical reformation and underscores the importance of engaging diverse faith communities in our fight against corruption.
We are also demanding that these manuals should be effectively used, both in church and mosques and also in our institutions.
Stakeholders here urge citizens to join the fight against graft.
Why some of our young people divert their attention into cyber crimes is because they are graduate and there's no job for them to feed their family. We are not encouraging that actually, but we are also asking government to step up their gains, create more industries.
For any government to fight corruption, the first step is in the appointments of government officials.
This initiative by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission underscores President Tinubu's poise to tackle corruption, which is evident in the recent Corruption Perception Index rating, which scored Nigeria 145 out of 180 countries, compared to former President Buhari's administration, where Nigeria scored 150 out of 180. It is expected that the different institutions here who have a role to play in the fight against corruption will roll up their sleeves and get to work. In Abuja for News Central, I am Marvelous Obomano.
Well, there you have it in that report. EFCC ensuring that tackling corruption will be a thing of the past. And we do keep our fingers crossed and hope that it will surely be that way. Osage, one thing caught my attention in the course of that report. I mean, great job by Marvelous Obomanu. The attendees, one of them saying that cyber crimes as a result of the fact that the government is not providing an enabling environment or jobs for the youth, that's why they engage in it. And another one saying it must be used in all institutions.
Yeah.
My question simply, my worry is this. If we must use this application or this tool, in quotes, for all institutions, who is going to be the third party or who would monitor to ensure that it's being used appropriately? We've seen where, especially cases where people who are supposed to act and carry out the law are the ones who are breaking the law. So are we certain that this will not also follow suit?
So it's really why, you know, when Nigerians see these things, a lot of times they just laugh. Because it almost feels like the people in government, are either playing the ostrich or don't really understand what the battle against corruption is in Nigeria. I'm not even going to respond to those talking about internet fraud and unemployment. That's a different conversation entirely. But corruption in Nigeria is not. So first of all, it would have been nice if they showed us exactly how this tool works, how this software works. From what it said there, it sounds like a tool that will alert the EFCC when there's
a huge transaction,
which of course is already it's already an active thing that happens in Nigeria. If you go to the bank and you try to move certain amounts of money, of course, they will be alerted. So I don't think there's anything strange or new there. But here's the thing. They need to understand, and I'm hoping that they do, I hope that they will understand at some point, that corruption really is not just about moving large sums of money from one place to the other, between accounts. That's not corruption. Corruption, first of all, is elections that you cannot trust. Corruption is, first of all, understanding that the leaders from top to bottom cannot be trusted. Corruption is not just moving 5 billion from one account to the other. It is fake company names being used to handle contracts. It is persons in the office assigning contracts to themselves. It is people inflating figures for contract sums. It is why in Nigeria you see that there's no road that you will do in Nigeria that is not in billions. No matter how 2-kilometer road is in billions. No matter how tiny that project is in hundreds of millions or in billions. That is where corruption is. It's not really, if you move a certain amount of money from there, the EFCC will be alerted, and that's not the way, that's not fighting corruption. There's too many other ways with which corruption happens. Corruption is appointing people based on the tribe based on a certain tribe, nepotism. All of that is corruption. It's not just financial, misappropriation. Those things would always happen. But the reason I talked about the election at first is because in every institution, as much as I always would say that every office, every MDA across Nigeria, when you hear that 20 billion was stolen, it's not because one person did it. It's a group of people. There's a network. There's a way that money was moved from here and there.
Yeah.
It was because, he was able to get one person to approve a company that wasn't necessarily meant to be approved to do a contract that, should have been given to a different company entirely. That person who approved it is, somebody is a part of that cycle of corruption. And so you cannot fight that, fight corruption by simply alerting the FCC when money is moved. It is because there's already a network. So corruption will first of all start to be fought when person A says, help me approve this company to handle this contract for these roads that are going to be built in Kaduna, for example.
And then it passes through the EFCC
and
first,
then and then person B says, no, this is wrong. This company is not approved to handle this kind of contract. These types of funds, will not be able to pass through here. We cannot give. That's when you realize the corruption is being fought. But that would mostly also start from a top to bottom, thing. That would be at a time when Nigerians say, okay, yes, I believe in my country now because the leadership in my country has shown me that they're completely against corruption, and these are the benefits of us, fighting corruption. Because if we stop stealing, these monies will be used to, to fix our roads. This money will be used to, give us electricity, be used to give us better health care. And then as a Nigerian citizen, you say, no, you're not going to allow this stealing to go on in this university or in this hospital or in, whichever public service office that you're talking about. So the FCC, and I'll give them kudos for the one that they're doing. I mean, I'm not going to, knock it. They can set up their little software here and there that will alert them when somebody moves 500 billion from one account to the other. That's fine. But that is not the fight against corruption. Fight against corruption is jailing people who are meant to go to prison. It's not a person who is given a 12-year jail term, spends 3 months, and then is back in the National Assembly. You are not fighting corruption. We're deceiving ourselves. If that is, the idea of fighting corruption that we think that we're doing. They were making a mockery of the whole fight against corruption, and it will never, ever, ever go anywhere.
It's indeed a deep one, Lots of people have even said that while the release of this software was being carried out just sometime yesterday, questions were being asked that, hold on, the EFCC is so quick to release the software, yet they have pending cases that they've not been so quick to attend to. We do have ministers, let's not forget, we do have ministers that a committee has been set up to look into their cases of misappropriation of funds. And according to what we know, especially as journalists, that some of these ministers, in quotes, have not even attended any of the invitations that they've been called for. I mean, we did see the situation where even the Minister of Interior was indeed invited and he didn't show up. And then you have the case of course, the Minister Betaidu, which the EFCC was told to wade in, and they said they would wade in. Let's take note, this has taken a month, and yet
long enough.
Nothing has been said. But within that same month, a tool has been released.
I also want to say that you will never fight corruption if a person who was caught stuffing his agbada with dollars is one of the leaders of your party. That you will never convince anybody that you're fighting corruption in a system like that. If you can boldly associate yourself with people like that, it's not, yes, I understand that he has not been found guilty of anything. Fair and good. But with all of that, we can boldly still say, okay, these are the kind of people that we, can associate ourselves with. You will not convince anybody in the country that you're fighting corruption, no matter the tool or the software that you bring. And so, again, kudos to them, but it's not convincing.
Tough call. But then again, we can go on and talk about this. Even the case of the fact that the EFCC chairman is picked by the president. So is it really an independent body? So there are many questions to ask. But let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll take you through some of our major top stories for the 7 o'clock hour. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now we'll take the conversation to Edo State in a bid to ensure that he produces a successor. The Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki held a strategic meeting in Abuja on Tuesday night with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to win their support for Asue Ighodalo, purported to be his anointed candidate for the next governorship election that will hold in the state. The meeting comes on the heels of perceived strong opposition from Omoregie Ogbeide-Ihama, a former member of the House of Reps and the alleged preferred candidate of Dan Orbih, Wike's key ally in Edo State, and of course Phillip Shaibu, the current deputy governor of the state.
Well, at the meeting with Wike, Obaseki was said to have sought reconciliation and apologized for previous misunderstanding between them, added that Ighodalo would be willing to pick Ogbeide-Ihama as his running mate. In his response, Wike stated that he would not have any dealings with Obaseki, as he is not known to have kept faith with anyone that's assisted him in the past, and further demanded a level playing field so that the most acceptable candidate wins the day.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party chairman in Edo State, in Edo Central Senatorial District, Archbishop Anthony Okosun, has said without reconciliation between the two PDP factions in Edo State, led by Governor Godwin Obaseki and the party's national vice chairman, South-South, Chief Dan Orbih, PDP's eventual governorship candidate will lose the September 21st, 2024 election. And these, of course, are the current issues on ground in Edo State as conversations concerning the elections continue to heat up. Asue Ighodalo is running under the PDP among other candidates that, of course, have made that list in the past. He's running against Phillip Shaibu, the current Edo State Deputy Governor, and I understand where Godwin Obaseki, of course, is coming from. He's going to be struggling to ensure that he at least covers his tracks before he leaves Government House. I remember Asue Ighodalo a couple of weeks ago in an interview, made mention that he is not going to be anybody's godson. He's not necessarily Obaseki's preferred candidate. He's running by himself and for the good people of Edo State and some of all of that, which is, of course, normal political talk. It's not strange to hear these things play out. But Obaseki, I'm guessing he's also realizing how much of a tight spot that he is in now that he's about to leave Government House. It must be really tough.
It's a bit tight, most importantly, now that there are two factions of the same party in the same space, in the same state as well. And then you do have his deputy who is still calling on him to actually give his full support, saying that he still believes that the leaving governor, Governor Obaseki, will still support him regardless of the fact or regardless of any wrangle that they did have. And he seems to be very certain that this will take place, especially ahead of the Guba. But then again, the questions are still hanging up in the air. Why would a governor such as Governor Obaseki take that trip to go see the Federal Capital Territory Minister, talk about Nyesom Wike, and try to reconcile, especially when it's just few, let's say, last minutes to the elections?
It's politicking.
Yeah,
politicking. Everyone is trying to protect their interests. He's likely going to sell certain things to Nyesom Wike that if he things are juicy enough, would be willing to, of course, buy into it. So it's politicking, and I don't see anything wrong with it. Everyone would play politics at some point. I just hope that they understand, and they've always understood, that the most important aspect of it should not be their own personal interests and their own pockets, but that
will always come up.
I get it.
Will always hang in the balance. They will always be at the forefront.
Yeah, I know what the reality is. It's just the right thing to say, that please remember people of Edo State are the most important in this equation, not your personal pockets or your personal aggrandizement or whatnot. I know that I'm talking to a wall when I say things like that. Politicians will pick themselves first. They are the most important equation in anything that, in any conversation. The people of Edo State and the electorate will come later, after every other thing that's been picked. So initially I was saying that I'm excited about the quality of people that are running for the elections in Edo State. And I think that it's an impressive, it tells me that the leadership recruitment process for Edo State seems to have been modified, and it's seemingly more refined now compared to what it was a couple of years ago. There's more educated, a lot younger, seemingly visionaries, that have run for or are running for election now. People that, of course, have a background to look at that you can really be proud of. So it's an exciting thing for me, but it wouldn't take away the whole idea of politics being played in the equation. I don't necessarily find comfort in Nyesom Wike being a part of the picture, but Godwin Obaseki knows what he's looking for.
Anyway, the chairman of the PDP Edo State Council, I'm talking about Archbishop Anthony Okosu, is indeed very sure that the governor, Godwin Obaseki, and of course his preferred candidate, as it is being touted, Chief Dan Orbih, will actually lose the elections. He's certain. He's saying that he's very sure that this will take place. It would have been a good one to have him alive join us, but of course, due to circumstances beyond our reach or our control, we would not be able. But we look forward to actually have that conversation. I mean, why so certain? Why so?
So I think it's also because nobody. So this is one of the first times in Edo elections that it is torn between 3 people this time. It's not, before it used to be a PDP APC thing. Now there's a Labour Party candidate, you know, that of course is going to be in the picture. The PDP candidate is not very certain of victory, you know, like he would have been maybe 10, 12 years ago in previous elections. The APC candidate is also not certain of victory, mostly because of how they were rejected in the last elections, when Obaseki, of course, switched parties. The Labour Party candidate is not very certain of victory. He would have if the elections were run in 2023. During presidential elections, if Edo State did this,
riding
you know,
on the back of
on that wave, then yes, Labour Party would, you know, have a very, very high chance. But a couple of months after, I don't know, or a year later, I don't know that Labour Party still has that wave in Edo State. But the point is, none of these 3 people are very, very certain that the election is going to, you know, swing in their favor. Not PDP, not the APC, even Phillip Shaibu, who has been there for as deputy governor, is not certain that, you know, he has it under he has victory basically. And so that's why it's, you know, it's tricky, and that's why, you know, the PDP now, if they don't have their house in order, they would, of course, have these distractions, and these divisions would cost them, you know, that's why I think that's what he's saying. It will cause them to lose the election if they don't have their house in order. Labour Party, you know, is hoping that they can ride on that wave from 2023 and hopefully, of course, get people to still believe in them. You know, depends on who they eventually pick as their candidate. They have been following to see who they pick as their candidate. Same thing with the APC. Everybody is really, really not certain of where it will swing this time. So, and I think it's very interesting. I'm hoping that we have an election in Edo State, because I'm from Edo State, so I would love to see a choice that the people have made, and a choice that works. The same way, you know, there's people praising Alex Oti in Abia State now and saying, no, he's doing so well, you know, he's doing fixing a lot of roads and infrastructure in Abia State so far since he's been there. I would like to see some of that happen in Edo State. I would like to see that they make the best decision, or rather we make the best decision and we get the right candidate who understands what's at stake for the people of Edo State and fixes that state and takes it back to hopefully where it used to be in the 90s, you know, maybe somewhere around there. Today, present day Edo State it's a lot. I haven't been
better
there
compared to.
No, I wouldn't say
2-3
better.
years?
I think it's me just wanting more. So it's better in some aspects. You know, there's certain parts of Edo State that are better than they used to be in the 90s, no doubt. But it's me just wanting more. It's me having seen this level of development in other states and saying we should be able to get this in Edo State. It's not rocket science. We should be able to get this level of infrastructure, of healthcare, of education, security, you know, investment and whatnot, electricity. BEDC has not had good ratings in the last long while. My parents still live in Benin, so I know what the BEDC's delivery has been like. So I'm hoping that they get it right. I hope that they pick the right person that's able to, you know, do the job. I hope also that we have an election in Edo State that the people believe was free and fair and credible. That's another thing that must happen. You know, in my books, I don't know that I would be able to create or understand any excuses that INEC would have for not being able to deliver free and fair elections. And so these are different factors that bother me as someone from Edo State. I'm sure people of the electorate are also going to be bothered by the same things. But we will follow and see the different conversations and see where they lead. Hopefully, you know, we get the very best candidate out of the elections for Edo State. Now, few days to the legislative rerun and by-elections in many parts of the country. Stakeholders of the All Progressive Congress in Plateau State, North Central Nigeria, are putting heads together on winning the contested seats. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe was at an APC meeting held in Jos, the state capital, and now reports.
This is the first time the APC stakeholders are meeting in the capital city of Plateau State since the judgment of the Supreme Court affirming the election of Caleb Mutfwang of the PDP as the governor of the state. Aftermath of the Apex Court's judgment still dominate discussions. Senator Lalong noted that the democracy of Nigeria will be better if copies of the judgments were made available to the public.
I am not saying the Supreme Court is wrong. The Supreme Court is right because it is the highest court of the land. It is Supreme Court judgment that you will analyze. It is not what you hear hearsay that we'll analyze. All of us in APC are also waiting for the Supreme Court judgment. We are not only lawyers, but also we can be law students, so that it will help us to borrow, so that it will help the electoral system.
Failure to swear in 16 members of the Plateau State House of Assembly that emerged through the judgment of the appeal court, even after the House resumed after several weeks of recess, remains a thing of worry for the
tools. The future is greater than the past, so we should forge ahead as a united front with zeal and full of determination. To all APC members and supporters across the state, we pay special tribute to all of you for remaining loyal, supportive, and obedient, even in the face of challenges, temporary setbacks, and provocations. Let me assure you that we shall emerge stronger. I advise all of you to remain committed as we lend support to all our elected members to enable them to represent us effectively.
For the APC, the outcome of the gubernatorial election at the Supreme Court will not hinder their preparations in the February 3 by-elections in the state. Among those present at the meeting are the APC gubernatorial candidate Nyesom Wike, his running mate Pam Botman, former Deputy Governor Sonny Theoden, and the APC Deputy National Secretary Festus Fuanta. In Jos for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyowe.
So no doubt you could be certain that while it's happening on the 21st of September there in Edo State, of course you could say for Plateau, it's just a few days away, especially this month. So preparations are indeed in place, as you heard from our reporter there, Chizoba. So thank you so much, by the way, for that report. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what we have next. The second hour is indeed fully loaded. Very quickly, let's remind you that you can be part of the front pages when we start reviewing them for 8 o'clock by calling in. The numbers will be displayed there on the screen, and you can react to the stories that we do have on the front pages. Plus, our guests will equally join us live, and then we can also dissect what the stories are indeed saying. But definitely, we'll be touching base with all the latest news from around Nigeria. Let's go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us here on Breakfast Central. The second hour continues right away with the big stories, and this is where we take a look at the front pages. Don't forget that you can react to the stories. The phone lines will be there on the screen, so go ahead and start calling and let us know what you think. We do have a seasoned journalist, well-respected, joining us this morning. We do have CKN, Chris Kennedy. Wandu, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so let's go straight to our very first front page this morning on the Thursday. It's going to be This Nigeria, and This Nigeria is one newspaper that indeed is bringing forth one of the biggest stories there. It says, Naira free fall. Senate summons a CBN governor on state of economy. As currency plunges further to 1,520 Naira per dollar. In case you do not know, this time last year, the dollar was between 400 and so, but now you can see it's triple, or you can even say 4 times what it is, 1,520 per dollar. Apex Bank rolls out fresh guidelines to commercial banks. We're going to have that conversation in between. Let's see some other stories as well. Reps direct Federal Fire Service to refund 1.48 billion Naira COVID-19 funds. The COVID-19 funds have not stopped. They keep coming. We found out that many parastatals did get a piece of the COVID-19 funds, and yet nothing was done. A court orders arrest of Fubare's chief of staff over Rivers Assembly vandalism. We talked about that earlier on the first hour. Wike tours road, rail projects assures of completion by May. EFCC exposes religious body laundering money for terrorists. Let's go straight to our guest, and don't forget the phone numbers that you can call as well. But first, CKN, you're here with us. Let's look at CBN summoning the Senate summoning the CBN governor. This is like the third time since the government indeed promised Nigerians that they will do all they can to ensure that the Naira indeed stabilizes and comes down. What's your take on this?
Well, I don't know of what use is the summon, because all the last summon, the ones they did before, what was the outcome? The fact is that the government seems not to know what to do on the issue of the Naira and the slides that is. I believe that the convergence of the Naira, the two markets together by the government when President Tinubu took over is the reason for all this problem. And the government was warned. It's just like the decision they took about the petroleum, the removal of subsidy. And that in its spiral, every other thing, the reaction, even when the subsidy has been paid up to the end of June or thereabout, or June, it's supposed to. But you can see that all sorts of policies being come on a daily basis. They come out with all different types of policies without any. It's just a movement without direction. It's like you are in a ship heading somewhere. You are not using your compass. You continue moving. If you are going to just Cotonou, you just find out that you find yourself in Dubai or wherever, and that is what is happening with this speculation and also. Now let me give you some reason. In August 2023, we are told that the NNPC secured $3 billion from Afri Bank.
Yes.
To cushion the effect of the dollar. Yeah. The question you ask yourself: what has been done with that $3 billion? $3 billion. I'm not talking 3 million. $3 billion. And I remember that Atiku Abubakar raised this question some weeks back. Either last week or said that government needs to be open. Tell us what we have done with this. They started abusing him, saying all sorts of things. And I've always said, take the message, leave the messenger. And that is it. Now today, the central bank has given an order to all commercial banks that they must dispose of all excess dollars in their account within 24 hours. This is not a military regime. That within 24 hours, they should. To what effect would that? So that it's obvious that we don't even know what 1,520. I just came back from AFCON. In Cote d'Ivoire, the CFA goes for about 600 to $1. That's a West African country. Just 600 CFA to $1. Ours is 1,500 naira to $1. So you can see the gap.
And rising.
And the pricing.
Yeah, it's
and you continue saying that, okay, look at the airlines, you see what they are saying. You can hardly get any airline selling tickets in naira for you now. Most of them are not, they say pay in dollars.
Yes.
And that is why you also find that it is cheaper to buy. Nigerians now prefer to fly outside the country, from Ghana, from Togo, from Libya, because of the lower rate of. I was reading something just yesterday where these people that sell tickets, I've forgotten their name. These people, agents, we are threatening international airlines that if they don't bring down the price of. I was just laughing. I said, look at this. Who are these ones? Are you going to force they have as of this week, despite the fact that the government said they have paid off all their debts, they still came out to say about 750 million dollars has not been paid. So what is really happening? Do we have an economic team? What is really happening? We don't even know what to do.
There's obviously a transparency problem with the government, but it's always been there. But I want to ask, there's people who commended the government when they made these two drastic moves now, the removal of fuel subsidy and the merging of the exchange rates, Barrelon and CBN rates. People praised them and said that that was the right thing to do. It was the right step, and it's the thing that the Buhari government should have done ages ago and whatnot. But there's a reason that it didn't work. I don't know if it was a completely wrong move or it was the right thing. It just didn't have some other backing that should have made it successful.
It could have been a right thing, but implementation is the problem. You can have a right direction, okay, but implementing these policies, it has to be well thought out. It's not just you jump into. You are taking over government, and within hours we are making certain policies. You have to sit down and study. It's not just something. Let me tell you, even during our secondary school, primary school days, when you are made a class captain, the normal class captain, you go take time now. You go sit down. Then when you start writing names of noise maker, those that are going to write and those that are, how those things used to work in those days. So what I'm saying is that right policies, yes, because those that applauded it thought that it was well thought out and that implementation was going to be key. But look at what is happening. Nobody have any that within the government. Nobody is going to. If care is not, in fact, if anybody has told me that about a year ago that the naira could be up to $1,000, $1,000 naira to a dollar. I will never ever. This is the highest we've had since 1960.
Yeah.
Since independence. And it's still moving.
It's still moving.
And I'm telling you that within the next 2-3 weeks, it will get to 2,000.
Yeah. All right, we might come back to this, but let's also get you to speak on the issues in River State. The chief of staff to the governor, Edo State, he has now been declared wanted. And his arrest was ordered by a court, I believe. So it's not. It feels like, Fubara, would almost not have 24 hours of peace.
Well, while some people may be celebrating that order, another order came from another court. I'm sure you're aware of that. Yes. Sure. Stopping security agencies. So what are we talking about? So it's neither here nor there. So the question is, which of the security agents going to obey? The one that asked for his arrest, or the one that asked for him not to be arrested? And you see that the judiciary is back in the mix, and that is the problem of Nigeria. Just as we have in other where the judiciary, even the election, one gives a certain pronouncement, another one comes again and gives another pronouncement. I think there's a problem within judiciary. With all due respect, I'm a graduate of law, and so it pains me when I see this kind of things happen. Why is it that the same federal high court, you're not talking of court of appeal, because that's the higher. If a judge of the federal high court are given an order, there is no way another judge within the same jurisdiction can also give out the same another order based on that same issue. It's either you go higher to appeal, or that's just what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But it's not just within 24 hours. It's about less than 24 hours. I think.
No, it was immediately.
It's just immediately.
It was as if it was premeditated.
It was. Now, they were waiting already.
So
it has already.
Well.
That is it, and that is how we roll. Don't forget also that when a court in Abuja also recognized the 17 members or whatever, the ones that defected, immediately that same day, another court in Abuja that where the 4 elders or 6 elders in River State went also recognized the other one and said that. But my own personal opinion is, as I was just saying in another network a few days ago, is that I want this issue of defection to get to Supreme Court. I want a Supreme Court final say on that issue. I know that there have been some pronouncements in the past. If you differ, especially as a member of the legislative arm, if you differ from one political party to another for no good reason, then you lose your seat.
Yeah.
It has already been established. Yeah. What are the fundamentals? That there must be, quote unquote, wahala within the party, if you understand what I'm saying. But the situation where people just wake up and just say, oh, I've defected to this, there has been a court pronouncement on that. And we have seen instances where somebody lost his seat. And that is what nobody is talking about the defection of those guys from PDP to APC. The agreement that was reached was, all the commissioners must take them back, and the other ones that they are recognized. Nobody ever spoke up. That agreement, nobody ever said anything. And that is why I want that to be taken to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court make a final pronouncement. Yeah. It will help our political system.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper, see what we can find over there. It says, amid insecurity, NEF or ANEZE, CSOs angry over Tinubu's private trip to Paris. He's on top of the situation, says the presidency, even if not in the country. CSOs to Tinubu, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso's exit from ECOWAS poses security threat. What must be done to make the Naira rise again? Well, we can also find at the bottom of your screen there, Naira drops to 1,400 Naira at the official market in exchange to the dollar. Senate summons CBN governor over free fall. Wike's issue not novel. PDP intact, Governor Fintiri says, and also religious sect laundering money for terrorists, says the EFCC. Well, I think the only, the big story here, you can quickly speak on is the president's private trip to Paris while the country is doing like this.
Who was that senator? Was it Senator Ndume? Who was that senator? Said no, not Ndume. What's his name? They said the country is is shaky.
Now must get clear. Once you get into office, you are no longer a private citizen. That's a fact. And just a few days ago, is it the president of Tanzania, one of these African countries, he came out
to ban.
No, not
trips entirely.
That one banned. This one came out to tell his citizens, tell his country, he says that I'm sick. I'm about going for a check in the United States. I just want to tell you people Tanzania, one of these countries. It was just yesterday, the news broke yesterday. As a president. How can a president say he's going on private visit? Who is he going to visit? His daughter, his son, or his wife, or who, or relatives? You are a public figure. You are the president of Nigeria. We want to know where. Joe Biden cannot raise up and say he's going on private visit. Americans were asking for what? To do what? But that's how we roll here. So if the president has the right to travel. Nobody says that he cannot travel. You say that the country is on fire, quote unquote. You have lieutenants, you have a vice, you have the Senate president, you have the Speaker of the House of Representatives, you have security chiefs, and the rest of them.
The NSA is there with him.
They have security, you have people. The president does not physically need to be on ground to be able to do his job. But what I'm saying in essence is that there are issues that need an urgent attention of the president. So it's the so-called private visit, which we don't know what it's all about. And this is almost the fourth or fifth time he's going to France since he came into office. What is there in France? He must tell us. So I totally agree with those that say that the president, as I said, I'm not faulting his traveling. He can travel. He's a Nigerian. But the fact is that he also owes us a duty of care, as we say in law, to tell us what he's going to do. The money he's going to spend there is not his personal money. It's Nigerian money. It's taxpayers' money. This private jet that he's taking is not going to fuel it from his pocket. He's going to fuel it from our money. Whatever Star Code is going to spend there is Nigerian money. So if you understand what I mean, so we have it. But taking that further is the issue of the EFCC, and it is very important for us to look at that issue. The story and the statement by the chairman of EFCC that a particular religious organization is laundering money for terrorists, bandits, and the rest of them. That by his claim, he alleged, that's the word we use, he alleged that about 7 billion was found in the account of the business. And my problem is that, why didn't he name the so-called religious body? No, because that is, you know that, let me tell you, the proof, the honor of proof is on the alleged. You said that we find 7, and that is the problem we'll be having in this country. That is the problem we're having. There was a time they said they arrested about 400 Boko Haram bandits, and they are going to be prosecuted.
Nothing.
Where are they?
Yeah, but is it possible that he may not want to name them, because they have not been found guilty yet, and it might be safer that they go through the court process, because if you name them and they are found innocent by the courts, they might sue for defamation.
No, let me tell you now. Now that you mentioned the court process, let's also go to it. Do you know that the court has stopped investigation of that religious body?
Interesting.
Good.
All right. So let's speak with Eugene, who's calling us this morning. Good morning, Eugene.
Good morning.
Morning, Eugene. Where are you calling us from? From Ghana. Okay.
I'm calling from.
All right. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that, Eugene calling from Ghana. So what I'm saying is, this issue of insecurity, we are not serious about this issue. How can you tell me that you have NIN and the security agencies cannot track the kidnappers of whoever that is involved in all these breaches? Our system does not accept it seriously. Unless we want to deceive ourselves, there's no way anyone can convince a serious human being, that our security agencies will have all this NIN. They wanted the whole world to believe that is a game changer. And someone will be calling, with negotiating a ransom with it, and nobody's talking about and they're telling us that they cannot catch a president. What I'm saying is, we have to be serious as a country. Unless we continue to deceive ourselves, and we're not ready for this issue of solving this issue of insecurity.
For sharing with us, thanks for calling. Want to give benefit of doubt, that maybe these criminals, these bandits, use the phones of the victims, to make these calls, so you can't track it.
But what about the transactions?
Yeah, I mean, so there's obviously bank transactions.
There's a transaction. Yes, necessary the writing. What of the transaction?
What about the transactions?
Transactions are making to this thing. Then, apart from that, What is the essence? What is the place of intelligence? Intel, as we say.
Yeah.
What is the essence of using drones? Part of the problem we are having is also the lopsidedness of our security architecture. Look at what happened in Ekiti State. On a day, within 24 hours, 2 of us were killed, and Muslim pupils were also kidnapped. Now, states cannot be able to buy drones and use in their states, in government, or except it is approved by the Office of the National Security Advisor. And you know how cumbersome that is. Who does that? We should be able to encourage. That is what we've been talking about, the issue of state policing. Although some people don't, but I still believe that this unit will work. They say, no, the governors will use it to oppress. Governors not using police now to oppress people. Only police, governors are they not using police now to oppress people? Having to be using so-called big men using police to oppress people.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think that was just a flimsy excuse.
It's a very flimsy excuse.
Yeah, that's really what it was. I don't think anybody should have taken that serious. But let's go to our other newspapers this morning. The Vanguard newspaper is coming next.
Let's take a look at what we have on the Vanguard newspaper. That front page there says Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger pull out of ECOWAS. Well, most importantly, there's also a breakdown of one other one, but I think we do have a mix-up with that front page there.
We take the punch instead.
The front page of the Vanguard, sincerely apologize for that, is this one. Yes, apparently. Sorry about that. Maybe a wrong click there. CBN clamps down on banks, pegs trade assets in Forex, okay? Pegs NOP at 20% of shareholders' funds. Measure expected to boost liquidity again. Banks compliance may lead to Naira appreciation analysis. Naira down to 1,490 to $1 appreciating official market. Well, let's take a look at another one. EFCC battles religious sect over 13 billion Naira money laundering for terrorists. And I guess, follow up to that story saying that there's a court order, if I'm right, they shouldn't mention the name of the religious body. I think we should just stick to that story right now and feel free to react to these stories by calling the numbers that you'll find there on the screen. Let's talk about the naming game. I would like to call it that way, tag it that way. We do recall that sometime 2 years ago, the UAE in particular, after the serial case of the hush puppy and so on, the UAE taking time to dissect and break down, which led to the stopping Nigerians from traveling to UAE, had made it clear that there are people who are aiding and abetting terrorism, especially within the African region, and who were told that they had prepared a document of names of the supporters and had sent during the Buhari administration. Not just that, we also had the cases of, we've seen those who are supporting terrorism, we're going to call them out. But yet, no name has been mentioned up until now. And here you have the EFCC saying, we've seen the church, or I can't say it's a church or a mosque in between, but they just said a religious body. That's why we're being confused to know, is it a church, is it a mosque, is it from the Hindu? Let's know. That is aiding and abetting insecurity. However, do you really think the EFCC has the power to stay independent?
Just to take it from the top, until we have the political will to deal with the issue of insecurity, we will never succeed. We are paying lip service. You talk about UAE. You've forgotten that about 2 years ago, or a year ago, UAE also apprehended some terrorists, Nigerians, in UAE, funding terrorism in Nigeria. They were apprehended, and within 1 week, they were tried and jailed, 6 of them. Instantly, within a week, they are still rotting away in the prison there. And you mentioned our own government talked. I remember the Minister of Information there, Lai Mohammed, came out, we have the name. The Attorney General of Federation, Attorney General, then also mentioned, we have the name, we're going to. One single name. That is what I'm talking about politics. You continue asking yourself, is that, could it be that even those in government have a hand in what is going on? No, you forgot. Let me land. Yeah. Remember that somebody said that, if security lasts for more than 12 hours,
attributed to the former president.
That is a very fundamental issue as it were.
So the way that I see it, and I feel there's that possibility, right? There has also been claims that the reason it has lasted for so long is because war and chaos, of course, is a channel with which money is made.
Okay.
You know, and it's not just here in Nigeria. You know, the more that there's crisis, the more you need to buy weapons, the more you need higher funding, the more, you know, money just continues to flow. And that way, you know, it will almost just never end, you know, because they need it to continue happening for more money to be made. There is that theory. There's also the theory that I have, and please, these are completely false, okay? Let's put it on the record. There's also the theory that I have.
The theories belong to you. They don't belong to the station. The expressions solely belong to Osaogie.
The claim belongs to you.
This is a complete lie, all right? So there's also a theory that I have that, you know, because I try to understand, if you're a president and you come in and you say that you're giving marching orders to your service chiefs, to everybody who's head of security agency, that you don't want to hear any, in Nigerian terms, pim about this in the next 3 months, or maximum six months.
Yeah.
You've released budget, you've given them money, everything,
Yeah.
and then 8 months later, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
There has to be a reason that you cannot summon them and fire all of them at once. There has to be a reason why the Nigerian president successively have not been able to take that kind of decisive action against their security chiefs. Is either they're afraid of them, or there's something that they both know amongst themselves that they are not saying. And so that theory, you know, that I have exists, that there's something between in that conversation that they're just not telling Nigerians that makes it difficult for the president to say, Oga IG of police, Chief of, you know, Defense Staff, every single president, NSA, we don't want, I don't want to hear these stories in the next 6 months. And then when they fail, he fires all of them. There has to be a reason why that is happening.
Let me take it from there. You remember what happened during the Anini days?
Yes.
Yes. We're all young then, but we remember Anini.
Yes.
Anini was having a field day until one particular meeting of the armed forces, whatever they call themselves then. And the president from my military head of state, IBB, asked the IGP, my friend, where is Anini? Within 48 hours, Anini was arrested. That is the power of the president. The president looks you straight in the eyes. I say, my friend, what about Anini? What he's telling you is that if you don't get Anini within the next 1 week, you are gone. And that is how the CP or Pari or Sayende and the rest of them were able to make sure that the person that they said was invisible, that was listed. And that is the problem. That's why I said initially that, I said, except we have the political will. Quote me, political will. If you have the political will, I'm telling you that this is going to come to an end, at least minimal, because there has been an upsurge from when the president, because this thing really went down before Buhari left. Why are we having an upsurge now? For goodness sakes, the Southwest used to be the safest region in the whole of Nigeria
until
in the past. Until recently, the Southwest used to be the. I was making when I was running my law program, I was making Lagos Ibadan Expressway 3-4 times in a week. But you can't do that now. The chairman of PDP Lagos was not kidnapped on that thing. And so many other. And a report came out a few days ago. We had the newspapers were publishing 1,000 have been kidnapped and said, "Bablash, that's rubbish." Those are reported cases. For every one reported case, you can be rest assured that 9 were not reported.
Absolutely. Just, you know, to also mention, you know, that as much as, you know, we on this side of the divide might make it sound easy, I also want to give them the, you know, credit and benefit of doubt that it's not as easy as we're also saying it. That the fact that you're giving marching orders doesn't mean that, you know, the IG of police immediately carry his rifle and capture all the, you know, robbers or bandits by himself. I know it's not that easy. I know they also have logistics challenges. They have, you know, infrastructure challenges here and there. But, you know, it is a concerted effort that needs to be put in place by the National Assembly, by these heads of, you know, security agencies and by the presidency, that these are the requirements that we need. These are the things that we will need in order to, you know, take this battle to the balance.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
For goodness sake, you know why most of us are starving? It's because we are spending so much on security. Check the last 3-4 budgets. Which agency has the highest
security?
Vote? Security. What are we talking about? Oh, but you wake up in the morning, you know that you have a job, you must be here. I left my home as early as 6 o'clock because I have to be on this program. Everybody, they separate job now. We don't give excuses. You don't give excuses. I cannot give an excuse that because I'm supposed to be here, there was hold up at Third Mainland Bridge. Who will listen to you?
I mean, I'm just playing devil's
So
advocate.
no, we don't play.
And-
The
and-
fact is that we have to tell that the way. Let me give you a classical example. Something happened. Some Americans, this thing we are bombed. Is in Jordan some few days ago, and the United States president came out to say, "You will hear from us." And when you hear America say, "You will hear from us," you know you will definitely hear from them.
This is why I mentioned that, and that's why I said, it may not be as easy as we're saying it, because I feel like the problems with security aren't just the fact that there's, a couple of people with AK-47s. We need to realize that we have porous borders. We have tens of thousands of arms and ammunition spread across Nigeria that we've not been able to tackle yet. So it's not just a policemen get into action, make sure you kill all these people. It is a situation where you need to, first of all, check your borders. You need to check, how these arms are getting into the country. You need to check how money is being transferred amongst these people. So all these things need to happen all at the same time if we're serious about tackling it. And that's why I said it's not as easy as just telling the head of police.
I have said
you have 6 months.
the part of the problem, I've said it here before, part of the problem we're having is the trust deficit between the people and security agents.
That's it.
Just
to add to what CKN has said, we're looking at the papers. You do recall that the recent case of the young lady who was killed, and of course, in Abuja. We did have a relative join us here on Breakfast Central in an exclusive chat where he said they were able to raise a sum of 16 million and they were looking to go and deposit it to the kidnappers so they can release the other 5. I mean, we're grateful the other 5 were released, even though prayer warriors were called to pray for their release without pain. But then again, after the release, we did see how the police came very quickly and claimed that they were ones who ensured that the girls were brought back. And then there was a counterclaim immediately that said, no,
we paid.
You were not the one. We paid. So there's also a trust deficit here that we are indeed tackling with, where Nigerians at some point are starting to ask questions like, can we really trust the situation? Yes, there are porous borders. Yes, the president has said, don't mercy for me, don't pity me. I know the job I'm coming to take. And he said that, he told everyone.
He did.
So if we take a look at there's a pattern that we're starting to see, and that pattern is the same pattern that might end up repeating itself if care is not taken. I don't know about what you think, CKN. We did see Buhari administration 8 years pushing that they would tackle insecurity, but yet nothing was done. And the body language we're seeing now, what can you make out of this same body language?
The body language is not positive to me, and that's what I'm saying. Part of the reason why Buhari was elected in 2015 was because of that. People believe that, this is a former soldier,
this is a former military,
guy, this is a hard guy, he will handle the issue, okay, let's give him the opportunity. At the end of it, what happened? Buhari became the worst president I've ever seen in the history of Nigeria, which is my personal opinion. He became the worst.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one.
It became the worst. That even former civilian presidents, I was old enough, a boy of 10, 12, 13, that I witnessed the government of Shehu Shagari since 1979. I witnessed it. I witnessed Obasanjo coming of Obasanjo. Yeah. Yes, Obasanjo had issues, but you could see you see leadership in Obasanjo. You saw what happened in Ibiam or whatever they call it when they killed soldiers and the rest of what he did.
Zaki
Ibiam. You saw what he did. That's a military head, a former military head. He went there and he will call his service chief. Come, I go to our boys. If we are not performing, you will go. He will look at his ministers. One of his closest friends, SM Afolabi or thereabout. And look at the guy just came over. Just said, I've sacked you. That's leadership. If people know that there will be consequences for the actions they've taken, they will sit up. If I give you an ultimatum as the president, I say, Chief of Defense Staff, but let us separate this, for goodness. Let us separate this, and I must make this clear. The primary responsibility for internal security lies with the police.
Yeah.
The 1999 Constitution, as amended, gave the police that constitutional right. It is not the duty of the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, Air Force, and whatever for international. There is against external aggression. Yes. They have nothing to do with it. Is because of the problem we are having that you are bringing the military into the midst. But you ask yourself, are they not Nigerians? They are Nigerians. But the fact is that until we have that political will, as I said, some people have been talking about capital punishment. Capital punishment will not solve this problem. Yes, the second leg to it is also we have to look at the issue of poverty. Nigerians are getting impoverished. The situation of somebody will graduate 4 or 5 years, he can't get a job. What will he do? That's why you're having a rise in Yahoo and the rest of them. Because they say the brain, idle brain is the devil's workshop. So you can see that a lot, poverty is taking a lot, and that is why you see that most of these terrorists are recruiting a lot from the north. Their Marjorie system, where you see the majority of these children on the streets. I was in Bauchi and Kanu. You'll be sure by what you see. The number of children on the streets, carrying plates and begging.
No factories.
No factories. These young children, ages of 5, 7, 10, 11, 15, if you bring a loaf of bread, they can weigh you down and collect that bread. That is how bad it is. So these are willing tools. These are just a time bomb waiting to explode. So it is easier for those guys to recruit them. Promise their parents $100 or whatever, and bring them in. And that is what most of them are being used as intel. That is what I was talking about, intel. Some of those are used by these terrorists to also get information.
But these points that you're making now are, pretty much the same thing I was saying, that it's not as easy as simply giving marching orders to the IG police. If these other aspects are not tackled, you would never be able to, fight the battle completely. If you do not reduce the armed proliferation that goes on in Nigeria, at least to its barest minimum, you would continue to see high-powered, rifles being passed from hand to hand in different parts and different forests in Benue State and in Kaduna State.
We're not the only one that has porous border. Mali has porous border.
Yes,
I just tell you. In as much as we are very big, we have this. Niger have porous border. All the countries surrounding you have porous border. In fact, by the time you get to Katsina State, you will be shocked that this time you are walking out of Katsina, you are going to Niger, but you don't even know the difference. It's not only Nigeria. Let's not start giving. I don't want to give excuses, and that's what I'm saying. Because when we start giving excuses, you get people relaxed and just they start giving. There's no excuses. We are picked up.
Don't get me wrong. These are not excuses.
No,
I'm just saying that we can't have the conversation as a one-way conversation.
Why they are security chief is that why we appointed them. There are still people within the force that can do that job better.
Yes.
You are just first among equal. It's like picking the Senate president. The Senate president is a senator now. You just first among equal. You pick anybody from the Senate, he can be the Senate president now. So the fact that Akpabio was being doesn't mean that he's the wisest among the senators. There are still people within the Senate that are wiser. But what I'm saying is that when you are given the opportunity, and God has given you that opportunity, prove yourself. For goodness sake, prove yourself. Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of Air Staff, the staff, what the staff. What are the staffs doing? That is the problem, because Nigerians are getting killed. And you know what Nigerians have said that? God forbid. It's because, say, if they carry somebody corpse, it just be like firewood. Now the person where he touch, now they know. If, God forbid, and I'm saying this with all sense of humility, by the time these things start touching our leaders, they are not too much feeling what we are feeling. If you understand what I'm saying. By the time they start touching our leaders, somebody will rise up. If one day a senator is picked up, the Senate will rise up and make sure that something is done. If a governor's this thing is picked up, you see that. But that is, we are not praying for it to get to that point. We are not praying for it to get to that point. It mustn't get to that point.
We did have the PA to a senator who was indeed kidnapped last year. And that story was one that indeed sparks the conversation in the Senate.
One was killed in Lagos, you forgot to.
Yes.
One was killed in Lagos.
As well, yes. Anyway, thank you so much for being here with us, CKN. Always a pleasure having you help us also share your thoughts in dissecting the front pages of the papers.
It's always a pleasure being here. I enjoy being on this station. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Yes. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take you to somewhere that you should be. Stay here with us. The action indeed continues, and of course, you see, it's sports, and we do have our man who's joining us all the way from Ivory Coast. We can say bonjour, bienvenue, favoured, ça va?
Ça va bien. Bonjour, monsieur.
Très bien, très bien.
That's all you've learned in almost 6 months of being in Ivory Coast.
6 months, come on, man.
It's not up to 6 months, never up to a month.
Whatever. So tell us what's going on. It seems the popular narrative now is that all the favorites have been kicked out, maybe except the Super Eagles. should we be scared of calling ourselves favorites now and you just, be humble taking on our next games?
Well, the Super Eagles of Nigeria currently are the highest ranked team in the tournament. And so, of course, you can actually say they are one of the favorites, or they are the favorites to win the title, having won it in 2013. And all other teams currently in the competition, in the rankings of FIFA and CAF, are below the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And that, of course, may put the Super Eagles under more pressure, knowing fully well that the bigger teams or the big teams have been knocked out of the competition. And then looking at what has happened so far, every time you have an underdog playing against a bigger side, definitely you are scared that maybe the underdog might just, cause an upset. But for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, I think they know what is at stake. They are playing the first quarterfinal game on Friday, and today they'll be having a press conference by 12 p.m. Nigerian time. Jose Peseiro and Alex Iwobi will be around to, answer questions from journalists and, of course, other guys that will be asking questions. So it's really important to know that.
Rigo, can you hear us?
Okay, maybe a little network glitch in Cote d'Ivoire there. Hopefully, Favor gets back to us. But, I mean, if we take from what he said, there's going to be a press conference at 12 Nigerian time. The coach, Jose Peseiro, and, of course, Alex Iwobi will be talking to the journalists and, of course, the press, telling them what preparations. I think one question I'd love them to ask is how prepared are they psychologically? Yeah. And most importantly, what's the state of Nigeria's goalie? Are there high hopes that he's going to be there behind the sticks? Favor, if you're back, can you hear us?
Okay. I can hear you now. Talking about the goalkeeping issue on Tuesday, and having resumed training on Tuesday, he's been moving to do rigorous work.
Quite sad. That's where we needed that information. But hopefully, if Favor can possibly try to reconnect again. Very keen. Nigerians really want to know the state of the goalkeeper. It's not that we're not confident with keeper number 2, but you see, when that guy was warming up to enter, people around me were saying, it is finished.
Yeah, but it's not just, I think in every single department, on the pitch, aside the goalkeeper, we also need to score more goals. I don't think I think it was just one game we scored 2 goals, and that was the Lukman, the last game. So we need to also score more goals. We need to, defend better, definitely. We've not considered so many. Have we even considered at all? Okay, we have.
Yeah, we have.
But if we are scoring more goals, it probably would put less pressure on the goalkeeper. But yes, people are worried. I'm hoping that we actually get to win it. Like Favor said, we're currently the top-rated team in the tournament. It does put us under pressure, but it also gives us some confidence to let us know that, yes, we can absolutely go through every single game and get to the top. Nigeria is going to be taking on Angola.
Let me shock you. Angola is like one of the most prolific
they are.
Countries in front of goal in this tournament, by the way.
So, yes, it's a little scary, but I'm sure that we'll be fine. DR Congo is going to be taking on Guinea.
After
Mali takes on Ivory Coast, and of course Cape Verde versus South Africa. South Africa also a team to look out for, right? Let's not be too.
It was a shocker against Morocco. Apparently, Morocco seems to be South Africa's wife, like they say in the football parlance. Anytime they get to meet with them one-on-one, it's always a cracker.
Ivory Coast, used to be also one of the very, very powerful teams to look out for a couple of years ago. I don't know if they're still that powerful, but yes, it's looking like a lot more firecracker games in AFCON, of course, in the quarterfinals, and I'm sure that everybody is anxious because of the banter mostly that has happened in the last couple of weeks. The banter has just been too much, and now everybody is praying for the other one's downfall. South Africa, Nigeria, Mali, everybody. Even those who have left already are waiting for Nigeria to exit so that, of course, they can mock the Super Eagles. But
do you have names in particular?
Oh, yeah, Cameroon, Ghana. Ooh, if Nigeria falters,
But I think they won't have that strength and that prowess to actually attack Nigeria anymore because we've exceeded their expectations. But even though as a Nigerian, a lot of Nigerians are saying we still want to go ahead. But I think Angola will really take us, they will really stretch the Nigerian team. We've done so well in the defense. Worries are still there for that man that we saw earlier in the video there, Stanley Nwabali. Hoping that he will be fine. He said he felt a little knock here and there. Maybe, but our defense line did pretty well. One of the strongest defenses that you'd have in the entire competition. Great combination from Calvin Bassey. I do name them. Of course, you do have the likes of Kenneth Emeruwa, and of course Ajayi. I personally like Ajayi, by the way, as well. I think he's a fantastic defender. Should actually make his way to Chelsea, and so on. But then again.
Anyway, best of luck to the Super Eagles as they take on Angola. We hope that, of course, they come out victorious over that game and save us the banter that would come from Ghana and Cameroon.
It's tomorrow, so
I really hope that they win, because a lot of Nigerians are going to have to stay off social media if we don't win. But best of luck to Super Eagles. I'm sure that we would come out victorious. It's still a struggle here from Favor. Unfortunately, we're going to have to, wrap up the conversation with Favor, and of course also wrap up Breakfast Central this morning. Yeah. We wish the Super Eagles the best, and of course we're going to be back here again tomorrow morning to share with you more. A very interesting conversation. Remember to always be a part of it. You can call the numbers when they appear on your screen and join the conversation. Also via social media at News Central TV. And thank you very much for kicking off your Thursday morning with us. We wrap up the week tomorrow. And of course, you'll take further steps into the month of February. For now, it's goodbye from me. I am Omoregie Ogbeide-Ihama.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Good morning.